universe and the start of the universe, you have to talk about stuff which is, totally outside of our experience, which might not operate in the same way. Which is to say that things, inside the universe, that's where we are. Everything might require like a beginning and an end. When you get to the universe itself, you're not talking about stuff inside the universe anymore. The totally different rules might apply. Hey man, yeah, definitely. The other thing is true. Maybe it's eternity. People believe that back in the day, and dude, we just totally don't know about shit which goes.
No, but the scientists have given us like even an approximate date about like 14 billion years old. Yeah. So that tells us that the universe has a beginning, and it is now expanding. So these things, look, the scientists have actually come. Just 1 second, brother. The scientists have already. I think it is the majority. The majority of them. The majority of them have come to
the consensus in science is that how the universe began.
No, I'm talking about expansion. The universe is expanding. So this brother here is saying that you don't need. We are not inside. We are not in. Sorry, because we are inside the universe, so we cannot understand the whole of the universe, how it operates. But they have told us the age of the universe, approximately, obviously. They have told us that the universe is expanding. They told us several things about the Big Bang. They told us about the earliest possibilities of what things were during the earliest stages of the universe coming into existence, and so on. And these are hypotheses. Yeah, these are theories. I'm not denying that. But they can substantiate it scientifically. So we're not talking about all those nitty-gritty bit. All I'm saying is that, look, if we narrow it down to the cause of the universe, do you think it could have come from nothing by itself, popping out of nothing?
That is the fundamental difference in our argument that I don't think we're being able to put across correctly, okay?
Yeah.
The whole point is that our belief is that we cannot think in the context of something and nothing, beginning, end, time, with what Max was saying, because you're dealing with the creation of the universe. The rules that we use right now may totally not apply. So
something coming from nothing, that is quite axiomatic.
Something coming from nothing, you're still working within the rules of the context of how the universe works. It's totally...
These are scientific rules, cause and effect.
No, but
they're pretty scientific.
Science is literally like a process of deduction and discovery, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Which is to say that
it is a scientific approach.
It's 100% based on induction, which is to say not deduction and logic, which is the other thing, which is to say that like it's 100% based on phenomena which has happened inside the universe.
Okay, so let me get this right. Are you saying
outside the universe?
Okay, let me get this. Are you saying there's a possibility for the universe to come from nothing?
Yeah, I'm saying.
Okay, do you know what nothing is?
That's the thing.
No, wait. I want to know from him because he said it. That's his claim.
Look, you asked me to defend a random possibility.
No, there's no random possibility. Do you think nothing even exists?
You can define nothing in a number of ways. It depends on what you mean by nothing.
How do you define it?
How do I define it? Again, what I'm saying is that you can define nothing in a number of different ways. You could say.
Go on, give it a shot. No, I'm serious.
You're missing the point of what
I'm not.
Okay.
Because you said that for it to come from nothing. Yeah. Hence, I asked. Let's define nothing. Because as far as I'm concerned, nothing doesn't even exist. Right. It's a concept.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
What do you mean that's fine?
Okay. No, I mean,
if it doesn't exist, how something non-existence?
No, I'm saying I'll define it for you. So
okay, go on, define it.
Okay, let's say no space and no time as nothing. How about that?
What about energy?
Okay, no energy too.
Okay, does it exist?
You could.
Not you could. It's you, remember?
Okay, let's say it doesn't exist.
No, not let's say. Are you sure it does exist or doesn't exist?
Oh well,
you're not sure?
We already said that our position is we don't know.
So you don't know if nothing even exists or not?
It could easily not exist.
So something that doesn't have weight, doesn't occupy space or time or even energy, is there such a thing?
So as in like also it doesn't have volume.
What if I told you it was just a concept, and it's in order for us?
Totally be just a concept. I mean, like in the sense that we can't touch that sort of stuff.
Okay, let me define nothing, and you tell me if you agree. Okay, right? To me, nothing is the absence of everything.
Okay, this is the classic one we've heard before. I mean,
no, but do you agree or disagree with that?
It depends on what is included in everything, obviously.
Absence of everything. I'm not saying including everything. Absence of everything.
Okay, but
so anything that you can think of,
but everything is
anything that exists, is the absence of all that. That is what nothing is. Do you agree with that definition, or do you disagree?
Okay,
and if you disagree, tell me why.
Okay,
so we're getting into the typical speaker's corner thing of like, what about this little intricacy of nothing? And
what did you expect when you came to Speaker's Corner? Something other than Speaker's Corner?
I said to you, as in it always happens.
Come on, it's part of critical thinking, you know? It is.
But this is the thing, is we've gone outside of the main point. And the main point we're saying to you is, we don't have to start explaining to you like where it came from, start, beginning or finish, because we've said to you from the very start that what we're saying is, the reason we may not be able to explain how it started is because maybe the way that it started may be outside of our brain's ability to comprehend.
No, but is it...
So if we cannot comprehend it, then we actually can't even discuss it because we can't comprehend it. The way our brain works, and our brain works on everything having a start, a finish, and we understand the concept of nothing, like you're saying, something where there isn't anything. All these things that are based on our everyday experience, the framework where we form ideas. Maybe the way that the universe was created is completely outside of that rule.
Okay, why is that? Why? That's the thing I'm asking you. Because the universe is something from the naturalistic world. It is something that exists, which we already agreed upon earlier. Yeah. Why would the rules apply differently to something that exists?
I mean, a lot of
than everything else that exists.
A lot of people now are saying that the universe is a simulation. We're inside of a simulation. Yeah?
Do you believe that?
I don't know. I'd probably.
Yeah. So let's not take pseudoscience. No, wait. Let's not agree. It is pseudoscience. Come on.
No, but a lot of credible people are saying that.
Really? Give me one credible scientist who said this is an illusion.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk is a credible scientist about the universe.
Huh? I mean, you asked me for a credible scientist.
No, a credible scientist in terms of.
You asked me for a credible scientist.
Credible scientist in the field of astronomy.
Oh, well, in that case, I don't know.
Exactly. So let's go with the experts rather than people who are just who believe that they are an illusion.
Okay. No, but hang on a sec. So, what we're talking about.
If you earlier you said it's beyond our scope to understand these things. Yeah. I asked you the definition of this thing. Is it beyond your scope? Or your scope?
No. This is the thing. Is that's why this conversation gets to a dead end. Okay.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It can be totally beyond our scope, which is to say that
the term nothing. Wait. If the term nothing is beyond your scope, then I think everything is beyond your scope.
Dude.
You know why? Because that is one of the most.
Hang on. Yeah, I'll answer.
Yeah,
like an extra universal nothing, a nothing which is a nothing, total, it's divorced from everything.
Non-existent. It's non-existent.
Outside the universe, dude. Like, it can be totally outside our scope because we have absolutely no idea what it would be and what it would entail.
Well, are you talking about nothing still?
Still talking about nothing.
Seriously. So you really think it's something?
What do you mean?
Okay, what is your definition of nothing? I would like to know.
So I agree with your definition of nothing. What you said of nothing is where there isn't anything.
It's absence of everything.
The absence of everything.
In fact, I believe, and I know actually, that nothing doesn't exist. It's a concept. Do you exist?
It's a concept. Like it's a concept. Nothing.
In mathematics, we represent nothing with zero. Yes? And infinity with the symbol infinity. Yes? So this, in order for us to communicate, in order for us to formulate things, in order for us, it is a means of communication, it means for us to represent certain things. Yes? So if anyone says that, oh, hold on, actually nothing could be something, then they do not understand nothing. And that's the reason I asked you, one of the ways to actually rule out the universe came from nothing, to identify what nothing is. Because if it doesn't exist, then it can bring about something that does exist.
Okay.
And I think that is within our scope.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. So if you rule out nothing, then what remains is it must have come from something, or by itself, or it was existing eternally. These are the possibilities I can think of. I don't know if you want to add more possibilities.
So I agree.
Then go ahead. Yeah.
Within the way we comprehend things, all of that makes sense. But that's the whole point. Is things that we can't comprehend is things that we physically could not discuss because we could not comprehend them.
Yeah. So we cannot comprehend things about. For example, if you're coming purely from a scientific background and only from the belief in a naturalistic world, then you will deny everything that is metaphysical.
What does
Sabur, come on.
metaphysical mean? I don't know the
Yeah.
definition. What's metaphysical?
Metaphysical is something that is beyond the physical world. By the way, this is Brother Sabur is quite an expert in this field, much better than me. That's why I called him. So what I'm saying is that because if you believe in a naturalistic world, then everything beyond. For example, do you believe in consciousness?
I mean, that's a whole other conversation. In terms
I know.
of what consciousness
No, but
is.
I'll show you an example of a metaphysical entity which you have no option but to believe. You know why?
You're asking me if I believe it, if I have consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm conscious in the sense that I make decisions that I think are my own. I'm probably conscious.
Good. What were you?
I reckon so, but you know, hey, no, you could have the other scenario.
The thing is that we're getting into this intricate conversation, which is fine, but the context of why we said, when someone asked us, do we believe in the universe? Thanks. When someone asked us, do we believe in the universe? We said we don't know. It's because we were having a debate as to whether God exists and our reasons for being atheists, right? So if we start this whole conversation into all these intricacies of why we believe, you know, whatever, then we need to remember the context of where we were saying that.
Yeah.
You know?
So as the brother just said, we are discussing about the universe, its existence, trying to understand whether this is within the scope of us as human beings to ponder into that kind of conversation, and also whether we also discussed briefly about whether it came from something or nothing. So this is where we are at present. If you want to add something to that.
What's your name, sorry?
Alexei.
Alexei and Max. My name is Sabur. So, are you guys like atheists or agnostics? Like, what's
I'd
your word?
probably say atheist because I don't believe in God.
Yeah, so like the classic thing to do is the Dawkins thing, which is to say, you know, like, you know, the agnostic atheist, which is to say, like, you know, you don't believe there's a God, which is to say you're an atheist, but, you know,
You have a possibility open.
obviously, dude, like, you can't know everything for certain, so you get agnostic atheist in that.
Sure. And like you mentioned Dawkins and agnostic atheism, but I'm assuming you've read some of his stuff, you're familiar with some of his
I read some of the stuff, yeah,
Sure. Now, have you read The God Delusion?
I read it about years ago.
So the central argument in The God Delusion, which sort of captures the main sort of argument that atheists have today, which is that biological
Sorry
design
about that.
is an
It's just
illusion,
loud.
right? So biological design, we can no longer say is due to God. They would say it's due to biological evolution, and then they would make an extrapolation for the universe and say the universe is likely not to be designed either, right? So the central argument of the God delusion is God most probably doesn't exist, so it's that type of agnostic atheism. About that, what's your view on that?
With regards to like biological evolution, yeah, I buy it. You know, I think you know, the variety of species on Earth is likely the result of natural selection. Yeah, and basically with regards to the universe, like there's a level on which you can apply that, which is to say that stuff which you know has a hard time, which require, there's a level which that might apply to the universe, which is to say that like you would expect so like for instance one thing is much more rare than another thing, or like one type of like organization of planets dominates another sort, then this might lead to a predominance of one sort over another. But yeah, I'm totally sketchy on like Darwinian evolution applying to stuff outside of the origin of various different species.
Okay, and about his point where he makes God and biological evolution mutually exclusive. What's your view on that?
God and the biological evolution are not God, which is to say the concept depends on how you define God. Obviously, you can have maybe Thor doesn't mix with it, but you can have a God which is like a creator God, or which was compatible with biological evolution. Yeah, you could do that.
Okay. So would you sort of be sympathetic to him that he sees biological evolution undermining the existence of God, the traditional arguments for the existence of God, such as design.
So, like, my understanding is, it might undermine specific gods, which is to say that, like, there are traditions and religious traditions which specifically deny biological evolution. Certain sects of Protestantism will definitely do that, and therefore you could say that, well, if we've observed this thing, or this is a very sensible theory, then this puts serious doubt in these particular theories. So, but depending on, but when it comes to design, obviously you can have your God, depending on your conception of him, who's guides and directs evolution, for example.
Sure. See, that's a very good point, because one of the issues that exists with Dawkins' view is that he tries to make it as if it's God or evolution. When, like you rightly pointed out, you can have a view in which God and biological evolution is compatible. But the biggest problem with his actual view is the way that he projects biological evolution and Darwinian evolution in particular to be something unassailable, right? To be something undeniable. But for example, you mentioned natural selection being the main mechanism of biological evolution, right? Are you aware of other mechanisms that there's actually challenges to biological evolution?
Yeah, I've heard some guys talk about, I've heard mathematical exceptions to Darwinian natural selection. I'm not an expert on the science of this, that, and the other, but I am aware that, not every super smart chap, thinks, Darwinian natural selection is like 100% exactly how it happened all the way from the start to the finish. But hey, dude, I'm no expert.
Yeah. So the main point which I'm trying to get across is that his very simplistic view, God and evolution against each other, something that we should be very skeptical of.
We have no relation to Dawkins. Like, for me, I don't buy. I've heard Dawkins before, but as far as I'm concerned, maybe he just wants to sell books, and so he just says controversial stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't consider him as an authority in this field?
When it comes to Dawkins, I've heard him, and when I was younger, I listened to it. But thinking about it, it really, in no way plays a part in my thinking of God not existing.
So, like, I'll take up the challenge.
You sounded like a fan earlier.
Hey dude, well, I listened to him, and hey dude, if you talk about God and atheism, you're going to hear Dawkins' name eventually.
Yeah.
Hey dude, I'll take up your challenge, but just to say that, like, when it comes to biology, it's way more than me. He's a very smart chap. He's smarter than me. I don't know. I'm sure you guys are way smarter than him. But what I'm saying is that when it comes,
we're not saying that. It's just.
All I'm saying is that, like, yeah, I'll take him as an authority in biology. He has something says something about biology. Like, I'm not going to straight up say, that's bullshit. Unless I have a really good reason.
Yeah. The point I was trying to get across is that these types of very simplistic narratives, they're very popular. Like you mentioned, he's very popular.
Sure.
But when you break it down and you look at it philosophically, a lot of it doesn't make any sense. So the biological argument for God's existence based upon design is not undermined by Darwinian evolution. This is a common misconception.
Loads of people, surely, I've never had an issue with, I've never thought that the idea of God and evolution clash. For me, that's never even done it. But for me, it's totally outside that remit. I'm not looking at evolution somehow suggesting God doesn't exist. I'm saying nobody has shown me evidence that God exists for the reason that God doesn't exist.
Okay, so that's a good segue for the design argument using biology, right? So if you look at the design of the human body, and if you look at the way that we are well adapted to our environment, and we also adapt the environment to our needs, this intricate system is calling out for a designer. So how do you explain that as an atheist?
Why does it mean that it's calling out for a designer?
Yeah, so I mean, let me just add in quickly here, which is to say that, I mean, on the intelligent design argument, definitely, a very classic intelligent pre-Darwin, intelligent design argument, could be fall down in areas because they haven't taken into account evolution. And on the regards to you know, the human body, having I mean, I don't want you to assume anything, but like, you know, if you're talking about stuff like, you know, the eye is so, great and complex, and things work very well, and it's, mechanically very sensibly designed. You know, you can say, by providing stuff like evolutionary mechanisms for how these sorts of things can happen, and and providing an argument for why an intelligent designer might not be necessary for various things. You know, you do argue against an intelligent design, specific intelligent design arguments. The other aspect is, with regards to intelligent design, you could have a million different intelligent designs, which is to say that, you know, the design that we have right now is not necessarily, you know, the most obvious and best. So if you have one of the things would be, you know, why is the eagles can see much further than human beings, for example, right? You know, other animals have various other better.
I'm a Norwegian Muslim convert, and I have a question about Islam. Can you help me answer it? If I made some food and gave it to my neighbors, would I be rewarded for that? I hear you saying yes. But what if I gave the gift of Islam to someone, like someone gave to me? Don't you think that would give me more reward than the food? Of course! Brothers and sisters, we have purchased a property to establish a masjid in the capital of Norway. By supporting our masjid, you will inshallah gain the reward for gifting Islam to our community. Imagine the children memorizing the Quran, the lines filling up for the prayers 5 times a day, the non-Muslims discovering the beauty of our deen. Subhanallah, all of that reward can be yours for a small donation. Allah said, believe in Allah and His Messenger and donate from what He has entrusted you with. So those of you who believe and donate will have a mighty reward. And the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever builds a masjid for Allah, Allah will build for him a similar house in Jannah. Click the link to help and gain the mighty reward promised by Allah. Also, please help us reach more people by sharing the video. May Allah grant you a palace in the highest level of Jannah. Ameen.
My point is not to say that a person can outright make it ad hoc justification and leave it there. One person can say bad design, one person can say good design, but we both agree there is design. That's the point that we agree about. The point where we disagree is, what is the design specification? Now, as a Muslim, the design specification for the world is that we were created here for a test, right? So God gives us health, but God also gives us the ability as human beings to decay, to have problems. For example, if you look at an average human being, we go through cycles. Everybody gets sick, everybody gets healthy.
Very quickly, I think you like presume something in an answer, which I didn't say, which is to say that, like, you know, there might be, you know, so again, like, you're talking about like intelligent design, right? And you can have elements of design which are, not intelligent, which is what I'm saying, which is one of the things about natural selection, which is to say you have, a design which is to say an architecture, which has come about and has, a number of features, and you could say that's a design. You could say good, bad, architecture, and I was using design. Loosely in that sense.
Yep.
Well, I haven't. I'll just make it clear. Like, I haven't presumed that there was a design, as in some guy at some point wrote it up in his blueprints and then made it.
But that's what someone was saying. What you might consider as non-intelligent might be there by design.
You could imagine.
So for example, you get when you cut your finger or something.
Yeah.
It registers a pain.
Sure.
Okay, so maybe you might say, oh, why did God not design a body which doesn't register pain?
Sure.
But maybe that was by design so that you can stop the bleeding. Maybe it's an area where you can't see and you got a cut. But when you have pain, immediately.
Sure. I totally get what you're saying. What I'm saying is that, like, I didn't want you to march on too fast and like assume that I had agreed to something which I hadn't. I was just clarifying.
No, that's fine. No,
when you say the word design, they're gonna think when there's a design, there must be a designer. Like if you want to use a more neutral word, you could say an arrangement or something like that.
I use the word architect.
In the sense when we start to argue and debate about design, are we optimally designed? I've heard all these arguments before. Before, I would try and make that debate, but actually that's not what we're discussing really. If we're discussing as to whether I have seen evidence of God existing, we've already agreed that if God existed, the whole evolution thing, all of that could still, the two ideas could coexist. The point that we were initially making with the gentleman earlier is we haven't seen evidence for God existing, okay? So we need to discuss that point.
Okay, yeah.
And then before we start, because for me it's, every time I'm in a speaker's corner, always there's the debate of like, well, design, there must be a design, blah, blah, blah. To me it's irrelevant until I've been shown evidence that God actually exists.
So when you say evidence, are you looking for empirical evidence? What sort of evidence are you looking for?
Well, maybe something that you can somehow measure. For example, we can't see Wi-Fi. Okay, yeah. So we can't,
measure empirically.
Okay, so let me explain. Okay, so for example, it doesn't have to be something we can see or touch because Wi-Fi you can't see and touch.
Yes.
Okay?
No, but you can measure
it.
You can measure it, right?
And even if you don't measure Wi-Fi, you can get your phone, take a picture, send it to somebody, over here.
You're talking about wireless. You're talking about
So and then you could say, okay, well,
but all
it
those
seems
can
to
be
be
measured.
something like
That's what I'm saying. And all of that, what you're looking for is empirical evidence.
No, I'm not necessarily.
What other
I would
form
like
of evidence would you accept?
No, I'm just explaining that it doesn't even have to go that far. Like for example, with Wi-Fi, right? I don't know how to empirically take something and measure Wi-Fi, right? I just see a device which tells me
So you're saying that
that device is your that device which you're able to see the Wi-Fi connection is
but you can't measure.
So it's the effects. So for example, like dark matter, we can't see it, but we see the effects of it.
Right.
So that's how like some scientists say, okay, dark matter is something that cannot be observed, it cannot be seen, it cannot be touched, but we see the effects of it. So I think
the consciousness is a good example.
I think you're in a good place because the thing is, what you're saying is a lot of atheists will come and say, no, I want to see God, and we see that a bit arrogant. What you're saying, if you can show me, for example, some kind of evidence to that, I think it's in a good place.
So what you said earlier, I actually agree with, but there's one part I disagree with, which is that what we would say is when you talk about evidence, we would use design as evidence for God, and we would use biological design as evidence for God.
I think what you were saying is by using the word design, it's like design means that it's gone through a process of creation and whatever, okay? I don't see design, I see function. For example, you're talking about the deer, whatever. I see a deer functions in a certain way, right? I don't see any design necessarily, right? Whatever, I don't know. Forget the word design,
okay,
all I see is function.
The first thing that I think we should try and agree about, the word design is inescapable even if you're a materialistic atheist. Because when we're speaking about biological evolution, we're talking about functionality like you pointed out, and for functionality to even make sense, we have to talk about why that thing does what it does. So design, even when it comes to the Dawkinites of the world, or even when it comes to people who are intelligent design proponents, both agree there is design.
Okay.
The disagreement is the Darwinists would say it's an illusion of design, and the intelligent design proponents would say it is design. So we can agree design is there.
Maybe it's because we are trying to comprehend certain things through how we see the world. So for example, when we see an object, the object is usually designed from nothing straight away to something, right? So you see a phone, people like to use the phone example, right? When you design a phone, you start with a blank sheet of paper, then you say, okay, whatever, we're going to do this specification, whatever, right? But what if the way that it works is actually slow, intricate building on tiny little aspects, and then because that takes so long or whatever, it's actually difficult for us to comprehend that this just creates a certain function. You understand?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And actually a phone is actually kind of similar because I don't think anybody or very few people know how every single component of a phone works, right? It's almost like a hive mind thing of where, for example, when you design a car, an engineer of a car works in their own little component and they forget about everything else. That's their little world. but there's like 10,000 of them, and it eventually kind of comes together into one.
Exactly. So you see, I don't disagree with most of what you're saying, but the evidence that I'm talking about is that when it comes to even the incremental, gradual components coming together, which is what the Darwinian argument is, that slow, steady progress led from simplicity to complexity, that still doesn't undermine that could be designed.
I mean, maybe, yeah. So if you're, again, the bottom line is, so if I'm saying to you, okay, what's the evidence of God, right? You're saying to me design, correct? So,
one of them.
Okay.
One of them.
So my evidence. So I'm just to clarify. I'm asking. Give me a reason why God exists. You say.
After you finish,
yeah,
it's okay if I can.
Yeah, sure.
It's okay.
You say because certain things work in a certain way, right?
And then you get us to agree that it's not theoretically impossible that a God could have designed it, and then what happens?
No, it's not that. It's not that. So when it comes to God's existence, we don't just use one argument.
Of course.
We use multiple arguments. So we use like the design argument, contingency argument, consciousness argument, the argument from religious experience, moral argument. You have different arguments. But the point I was making is what you said earlier about evidence. We would say biological world is a signpost to the divine. Whether someone accepts particular evolutionary models or they do not, design is inescapable. Now the question really is what I said earlier. Is it the case that the Darwinists are correct that there's an illusion of design, or is it the case that intelligent design proponents are correct that design means design? And that's the real discussion and debate.
Can I give you an example? It's okay. Yeah. So I think the whole argument of design is innate. Hey, how you doing? How's the wedding? Good. So the whole argument of design is innate. So you gave the example of the phone, yeah? I think we can kill two birds with one stone, because we talked about, for example, bad design and good design, yeah? If we opened up the iPhone and we saw, argument's sake, we saw something that looks very strange to us. Now, logically, we'll think to ourselves, what's the function of that there? It's just sitting there doing nothing. It's not connected to anything. From our point of view, we might even doubt the one who made the phone and be like, hold on a second, that doesn't make sense to me, yeah? But the reason we're questioning bad design or good design, is still we accept there's design, is because we do not understand the person who's made the phone has put that there for a reason, but because we can't comprehend it, we're going to equate bad design. Would that be fair?
Right, okay.
Okay, now, just that's the argument of
such a scenario could happen.
Yeah, that can happen, yeah? But it doesn't mean it's bad design, it's because our comprehension is not to the level where the phone designer has done it, yeah? Okay, so coming back to your example, I believe the argument for design of God's existence is very clear. If you saw this phone, if you're walking down the road, yeah? Okay, have you seen this phone get made? This phone. Does it have design?
Well, no, this phone, no, not
okay.
okay.
Alright, do you believe that this phone is designed because you went to the factory and saw it being assembled, or do you believe that it's designed from the mere fact that you can see design?
I believe that phone is designed because, for example, in my personal experience, I know people who work in the same industry where they design objects, right? Okay. So if I see a phone, I'm combining loads of different bits of information in my head. Where, for example, I see, okay, that is plastic, right? Generally in my life experience, I don't see plastic just in nature, right? Then I see that is glass, okay? I generally don't see glass in nature. I also know in my life experience that people design objects, right? Because I've seen it happen, physically seen it, okay? So these bits of information come together in my brain, and I'm saying, okay, probably a designed human-made object because of certain factors I've seen about it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Think about it. All the things that you mentioned about the glass and the plastic not coming together, and this information that you know some friends that work in a factory. Let's assume you know nothing about that. You don't know about no Apple factory. You just came, you was in a cave, you woke up. You're walking down the desert and you happen to see a phone. Do you believe, what's the first thing that will come to your mind? Would you, because you don't have any information about a factory, somebody creating it, glass, plastic. You see a phone.
I honestly, genuinely, I don't know how to comprehend to start thinking about what I would think of an iPhone.
No problem, but what's
I had no clue about factories, so I don't know. I can't answer that.
But the thing is, we're not asking about, oh, is that an iPhone? I don't want the information if it's an iPhone or not. Would you say it's designed or not designed?
Yeah, I think he's saying that, like, you know, if you're in a scenario where you're literally like your mind has been totally wiped of all information, right? You know, you're in a desert, you know, and you find like, okay, you find the phone or object, it's like clearly weird, it's clearly, you know, looks a bit different than some of the other stuff, but like that doesn't mean you can infer it was designed.
No, 1 second. How so? What's the?
Let's say that you're walking in the desert and you saw like a lizard or whatever, right? You know, that's clearly quite different than the sand and, you know, the sky, right? You know, that, you know, would you come to the, you know, you could come to the conclusion that's natural or that's designed. What I'm saying is that like you wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't have the frame of reference to know whether that's designed or not if you're like totally mind-wiped.
No, hold on a second. The fact that
actually you used the word frame of reference.
yes.
If we were to have a frame of reference for everything going back forever, we'd never have any knowledge in the first place. Ad infinitum.
Okay, but he said without, you mentioned without a frame of reference.
No. But you said for you to judge something as design, you need a frame of reference. You said that, right?
No, you don't.
Yeah. Your idea, I think, is that if you suddenly lose all this kind of evidence that we get from sort of science and experience, then that's all wiped, and we wake up. We don't actually know the kind of the laws of the universe, and so if we exited that cave and we see a lizard and we see a phone, for all we know, we could be in a kind of universe where both of those things just like spontaneously pop out. So that sort of thing.
That's just
so you only wait a second. You only find out how the universe works.
Do you actually agree with that? No, because that's very interesting, right there.
That's more or less what I was saying, which is to say, you know, yeah, if you totally have no frame of reference, if you like you don't have all the other information which you're getting, you know, you could live in a universe where the phone is natural and the lizard is artificial.
You know, from my perspective, when someone says what he said, which is that it could have popped into existence spontaneously, the lizard in the phone, as opposed to being designed, it does sound kind of absurd. It's crazy.
But that's only in this scenario where we don't know anything else.
Oh well, people believed it.
Yeah, some people do, sadly.
Okay, guys, listen. But listen to what I'm saying.
Would be spawned automatically in bags of.
But hear what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying my argument is the following: you guys would, by your very innate disposition, would agree that anything you see, it can be a water bowl, it can be a book, it can be a phone. You do not need prior information to claim it's designed. You don't, because for example, did you go to the Apple factory to see this phone get made?
I didn't.
Okay, is this phone designed?
Yeah, but it's like what you
I've explained why. For me, I do need prior information.
No, you don't. You know why? No, let me tell you why. Tell me why I'm wrong. You do not need. Look, for example, I'm making a claim. Tell me why I'm wrong. Have you gone to the Apple factory to see this phone get made?
No.
Okay. Do you believe it's designed?
Yes.
Why?
I've explained to you because I see certain materials in it.
That's my argument.
No.
Okay,
you said basically.
Let him finish. Let him finish. I'm so sorry. No, let him finish. Why do you? No. Say that.
My brain sees an object, right, and then it uses its past experience. For example, seeing plastic, not being in nature, whatever. All these little things, bits of information my brain analyzes. Okay, that from that makes me feel that it's been designed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, what you're doing is you haven't gone to the factory, you haven't seen it made, but you've seen that plastic cannot be made in the nature. Yeah, glass cannot be made in nature. The components that it has cannot be made in the nature. So you came to the conclusion, the rational conclusion, it has to be designed
by a human. Yeah.
By a human. So then, when we use the same principle and look at a lizard, or look at a giraffe, or look at an elephant. Yes. Then how could someone who has, we have to be consistent here. If you, okay, so I'm not saying you're not, by the way. I'm just saying,
of course.
So we'll have to be consistent and say, hold on a second. If I use my mind, my rationality, my logic to look at a phone and come to an agreement that the plastic and the glass and the components cannot just be made by nature, it requires a human being for it to come into form. Okay, then can we not use the same logic and apply it to the trees and the sun and the stars and animals? Tell me why.
No, because you're taking the phone, okay, and then you're taking a piece of nature, right, and you're comparing them as if they're two things, right? But actually what the phone is is the phone is a component inside the nature, if that makes sense.
The animal not?
So what I'm saying is, the phone is, we know that humans exist, right? So, and humans are part of nature.
What if you never saw humans? Would you deny that it was designed?
No, but hang on, let's talk. We've seen humans, right? So I can't say I've never. I can't answer to the thing of like, what if I've never seen an iPhone and my brain has been wiped? I don't know.
I don't know.
Just quickly, yeah. So like, what my friend, I think he's been doing is basically saying we can infer that the phone is designed because it's quite different than natural stuff, right? And then you're saying, well, dude, how do you? Then can we not do the same thing with natural stuff and say, well, it's quite different than what? Isn't that
inconsistency? Because what you're saying is the following: if we said
determining it's artificial by comparing it to stuff which is natural.
No, but you just because it's natural doesn't mean.
Can I ask a question here?
Sure.
Someone as intelligent as Darwin, and even people before him, right? And many people on Earth that have existed in the past, that exist today and will exist in the future, for them this is a quite intuitive conclusion. Why do you think that is?
That's my argument.
As in, like, it's what's an intuitive argument? Which is to say that, like, they would require no outside stimuli whatsoever to determine one design thing or an undesigned thing.
What I'm saying is, when they look at nature, it's quite intuitive to say, well, it doesn't really make sense that there's nothing behind this.
Yes. Okay.
Even if people change their minds later.
I mean, there's loads of stuff Darwin said. I'm pretty sure that was completely ridiculous. Like, I swear he was really into like inbreeding and all this weird stuff. So for me, what Darwin was saying.
So I gave his partial view. There was a time in which he was a Christian. There was a time in which he was a deist. When he published The Origin of Species, he actually was a deist. He still believed in God. His reason for becoming an atheist in the last decade of his life was the problem of evil and suffering, right? So I'm not saying he held one view. You can't really pigeonhole the guy. The guy has quite. I agree. But the point we're trying to get to is what's absurd about the views that we're speaking of right now. What's, for example, the way I articulated the view, the way Ali did. What's absurd about this?
Why do you reject? No. Why do you reject?
When it comes to our particular view, we are saying this is a logical argument, right? So what my question is, what's wrong with this argument?
Yeah. Why is it illogical?
Okay. And do correct me if I'm wrong. Like, my understanding is that the argument is, you're saying that the intuitive part is basically, people can look at a design thing and they'll say, well, they can tell innately that it's designed. They can tell, they don't really require any outside reference for that. And so when they look more closely at parts of nature, they see that it has, it has some of the functions and some of the hallmarks of design, and therefore they draw an analogy and can say, well, this looks designed to me.
Yes.
Right, and why do I think that's... Well,
why is that wrong?
Sure. The intuitions can totally be wrong, first of all.
Why?
Why? Do you not think intuitions can be wrong?
No, when it comes to the argument of me seeing this, and I have no prior knowledge of Apple, I have never seen human beings. I woke up in a...
We can't keep talking about the iPhone in that context.
Why not?
Because we're not in that context.
No, let's not about that.
The fact of the matter is that every single person here that looks at the iPhone has that context, right?
Why? Because most of these people, they have never gone to a factory, and my argument is they believe this is designed not because they believe Apple's factory exists, because they can see design. That's my argument. I'm trying to present here that yes.
Every single person might have a different reason.
No.
I'm sure someone here or someone in the surrounding area maybe has been to an Apple factory.
But the point is this: they believe. If I went to him and they said I went to the Apple factory and I saw it get made, I'll ask him the same question. If you didn't go to the Apple factory, would you say, you know what, mate? I've never gone to an Apple factory. I've never seen an iPhone. This is not designed. I'll say you're crazy. My point is the following: not that you went to the Apple factory or you didn't, because you're still in the same position. If you went to the Apple factory, it's good. You've got more clear understanding how the components were made. But this doesn't negate the fact that it's designed. So my question, when I put you guys in the position where I say you woke up in the cave, you're walking down the road, it can be anything. It can be a bike, it can be a bottle, it can be a watch. When you see it, the fact that it's shaped in that manner, you have to beg the question, why is it that shape and who designed it? Now you tell me why you would not come to that conclusion. That's what I want to know.
So sorry, I just want to clarify. So you're asking me what exactly? You're asking me?
I'm asking you the following. I'm so sorry. Sometimes